Welcome. Today, we are absolutely cracking the code on the strategic performance measures you need to know inside and out for your SCMPE exam. We're going to break down the key models, apply them to some real exam-style questions, and then wrap it all up with a quick-fire recap of the essential formulas. So let's jump right in with the big question, the one that really sits at the heart of modern business strategy. For decades, profit was king, right? But think about it. In today's complex world, is that one number really enough to tell the whole story? For your SCMPE paper, you have to think way deeper than that. And to answer that question like a pro, you need to have three powerful frameworks in your toolkit. Each of these gives us a totally different lens to look at performance, taking us way beyond just the financial numbers to get that complete strategic picture. First up is the performance pyramid. And honestly, the name gives you the biggest clue. Think of it as a top-down model. It's all about making sure that these small actions happening every single day are directly connected to and driving the big picture strategy that's set at the very top. So let's put this into practice with a quick case study. Picture a cool local coffee shop. At the very top of their pyramid, their main strategy is to be the best eco-friendly coffee spot in town. Okay, so in the middle, at the business level, they're looking at things like marketing and how they're sourcing their beans sustainably. And then right down at the base, the day-to-day operations, they're measuring things like how fast the baristas are, how much waste they're producing, and whether their cups are compostable. You see how every little thing at the bottom supports that big vision at the top? And that's the absolute key takeaway for your exam. The whole point of the performance pyramid is to forge that clear, unbreakable link between the company's strategy and its daily operations. And that's the link you need to explain to score those big marks. All right, next up we have the building block model. Now, this one is your go-to for service businesses. We're talking hotels, consulting firms, you name it. And just like the name says, it's built from three core components. Back to our coffee shop. The first block, dimensions, is all about what they care about, the things that really drive success. So yeah, profit, but also stuff like innovation and the quality of customer service. The next block, standards, is where they get specific. They set measurable targets, like aiming for 95% positive reviews. And finally, the rewards block. This is how they motivate the team to actually hit those targets. It all has to be clear, fair, and motivating. And there you have it. Those are the three magic words for the exam. Anytime you get a question about performance in a service business, you need to structure your answer around dimensions, standards, and rewards. That's how you get all the marks. Last but not least, we have a framework that is so important in today's world. The triple bottom line, or TBL for short. And let me tell you, this one really shakes things up by challenging that old profit-only mindset. You see, the old way of thinking was all about one thing, profit. But the TBL says, hang on, there's more to the story. It adds people, which looks at the company's social impact, on its employees, on the community. And it adds planet, which, you guessed it, measures the environmental impact. The whole idea is that to be truly successful and sustainable, a company has to do well in all three areas. Now, for the exam, listen up. Just dropping the words people and planet is not going to cut it. You need to give specific, practical examples of how a company could actually measure its social and environmental performance. You have to show you understand this on a much deeper level than just the buzzwords. Okay, so that's the theory down, but we all know SCMP is all about applying that knowledge, right? So let's switch gears and see how these ideas pop up in some exam-style questions. All right, first question. A real classic about return on investment, or ROI. You've got to figure out two things here. First, what kind of measure is it? And second, what kind of behavior does it often cause? So the answer is B. But why is it B? That's what gets you the marks. First, ROI is always a percentage, which makes it a relative measure. Now, because of that, imagine a manager whose division is crushing it with a 25% ROI. They might get offered a great new project that returns 20%. Now, that's a good return, but it would pull down their average, so they might reject it. And that decision, which is good for their division stats but bad for the company overall, is the textbook definition of sub-optimization. Okay, next up. This one's all about the link between what a company has to be good at, its critical success factors, or CSFs, and how it actually beats the competition. The answer is B, source. Here's how you should think about it. A company has its unique strengths, its core competencies. It uses those strengths to be amazing in a few key areas that really matter in its industry. Those key areas are its critical success factors. And when you nail your CSFs, that's what gives you your competitive advantage. So the CSFs are the very source of that advantage. Now let's build on that. So if a CSF is the what you need to be good at, how does a key performance indicator, a KPI, fit into that picture? It has to be a target measure. And here's why. Let's make it super practical. Let's say your CSF is amazing customer service. Well, how do you know if you're actually doing it? You can't just hope. You need a specific target to aim for. That target, that's your KPI. For example, achieve a 98% customer satisfaction rating. The KPI puts a number on the CSF. Great job. Now, before we get to our final recap, there are two last things we need to cover. These are the kinds of details that really show the examiner you have a well-rounded understanding. First off, quality. And please, do not just think of this as some operational checklist item. Quality is a strategic weapon. When you're writing your answers, you should talk about quality as something that drives competitive advantage, something that makes you stand out from the crowd. And second, you've got to show a balanced view. It's great to talk up non-financial measures, but a top-scoring answer will also know their weak spots. You should mention that, they can be a bit subjective, collecting the data can take a ton of time, and sometimes they can even cause fights between different departments. Showing you see both sides is so important. Okay, let's lock this all in. Time for a super quick formula flash on those two key financial measures we've touched on. Return on investment, ROI. You take the controllable profit and divide it by the capital employed. The big thing to remember, it's a relative measure, a percentage, and its biggest weakness is that it can lead to that problem of sub-optimization. And then there's residual income, or RI. Here, you take the controllable profit and subtract an interest charge on the capital you're using. The main takeaway, this gives you an absolute number, a dollar value. This is great because it helps avoid that sub-optimization problem. Its main downside is that it's tough to compare divisions of really different sizes. And there you have it. That's our deep dive into strategic performance measures. We've gone from the big picture frameworks right down to the nitty-gritty calculations. The big takeaway here is to start thinking like a true strategist. Performance is always more than just a single number on a page. So the real question is, how are you going to use these tools to measure what truly matters?